Restoration of a classic Ford is a journey of discovery. Let Autocrafters help you with yours. We offer quality parts for Falcon, Fairlane, F-Series, Galaxy, Maverick, and Pinto. Contact us today.
All right, I'm talking about removing paint mechanically or using wire wheels, sandpaper, and all that today. Frankly, one of the hardest things you can do is to go mechanical. I know that when we did the chemical stripping the week before, it looked like that was a royal pain in the butt because it was a very long video and we did a lot of that kind of stuff. But I'm going to tell you right now, this is a bigger pain in the butt, and I know that because I'm doing it right now. And I was doing it yesterday afternoon. This shock tower has taken probably about 2.5 hours of just going in and almost being like a dentist and working with dental tools and getting into these small areas around here and all this kind of stuff. Can you do it this way? Yes. And there are some cool tools that you can do this kind of stuff with. So what do I use? Well, I use a wire wheel. Now, I don't use this on everything. If I were going to do the entire outside of the car with some kind of grinding rather than going in and using the strippers, then I would go with the thing I'm going to talk to you about in just a second here from Eastwood. That is probably my go-to pick for that kind of thing, but I'll talk to you about that in just a second. If I'm going wire wheel, I'm going to go with a 3-inch wheel for most of this stuff. I find that the larger wheels don't tend to pick as much of the paint off as this size here will. This one is the one I want to go to, but there are times when I will go smaller. One of my other go-tos is this one. It's just a button head, and it is one that I use a good bit in there. You can see that Logan has gone in and thoughtfully ground out the body shuts that was on there using our button head. But I'll also use things like this 1.5-inch small, and I will also use a 2.5-inch, which is just a touch bigger. So that's basically what I do. You want to probably ask me about sandpaper. I'll tell you about sandpaper. Sandpaper is great. You can use like an 80 grit on a DA and really plow through the shock towers, some of the bigger open field areas on the firewall and on the inside inner fenders. But I will say this about that. You have to be really careful because some of those spot welds in there have got raised areas, and there's screws and all kind of stuff that can nail you down and wreck the facing of your DA. So be careful using sandpaper to do that kind of work. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to talk about the stuff from Eastwood. Now I will say this about this kind of stripping, it's really problematic because it just takes so long. It takes a long time to use wire wheels and sandpaper in order to affect this. You will still, no matter what you do, when you're doing this kind of work, go mechanical around these joints because you do not, repeat, do not want to put stripper inside of here because it will all bleed back out and wrinkle up your paint and make your finish look bad. So I always try to stay mechanical in these areas anyway. This would have been done mechanically, but normally I would have chemically stripped the outside perimeter of this. I wanted to do mechanical because I wanted to see if it's just as bad as I remember. And it is. But it is a thoroughly doable process. The one thing, well, not the one thing, there's a couple of different things. The time factor for one, but the other thing I don't like about it is an incredibly dusty process. You're going to get dust on your suspension components on the inside of the fender wells. You're going to get dust all over and inside of the car if you're doing a mechanical strip on the outside of it. But there are good reasons to do a mechanical strip. The outside of this car, you could actually do a mechanical strip fairly quickly using the tool I'm showing you right here from the guys at Eastwood. They make this really neat thing. They even used it on the Mandalorian. I don't know how the Mandalorian got that thing, but apparently the Mandalorian knows somebody at Eastwood. That's all I got to say. So I'm going to talk about a couple of tips and tricks on mechanical stripping that you might want to go over. One of the first things that I wanted to talk about with mechanical stripping, these kind of things right here are going to show up and you're going to have to do something about them. The tool I'm going to drag in here in just a second to work on the other top of the shock tower where we've removed the braces from this Falcon, they'll help you to get rid of this kind of stuff and to smooth all this out a little bit better. This got hit somehow, probably when the engine came out of the car. I can imagine it was maybe on a cradle or something and it fell and knocked into that and put a big dent in the shock tower when they were removing it, and that may be why they went in and cut the radiator core support on this car ages ago. This is a brand new radiator core support from the guys at Autocrafters, as is the inner fender apron, battery apron here. Both of these are new panels. We're not going to touch them. We're going to leave them in E-coat and then go back in and put a primer on top and then go in and final coat all of this at the same time. But I'm going to grab my other tools. I'm going to get out of the engine bay and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about other things that you're going to need to want to look at and do when you're stripping. I'm going to go do a little bit of wire wheeling right here on the top end. This is what I'm talking about with there being a lot of dust. If you're at an opening like this, if you're going to do a wire wheel away from the opening like that. Now for you non-Falcon guys that may be wondering what's going on, these two pieces that you see here, this weld and this weld right here, are from where the shock tower brace is welded to the shock tower and then welded up here. Now we've got a removable brace that we're going to be using on this car, so we're going to be putting that in here as opposed to a stock style brace, because this brace was actually cut right around in here. I got this tool, I've used it before on some other parts of this Ranchero, and I'm absolutely in love with this thing. We got this over at Harbor Freight. It's a 1/2 inch wide belt sander, and for doing this kind of stuff, it's actually pretty darn nice. It's just really loud. All right, I'm going to change this belt out and work on this one, but you get the idea of what this can do. You can go in and clean up all this stuff, like this little burr that's on here. You can wipe that out, get rid of this, flatten this out, make this look nice. And I'm going to go in just a second on the other shock tower and show you where somebody has used, used a chisel to knock the shock tower back into place. I'm going to show you how you can use this to take and flatten that area out and make it look a little bit better. All right, that's just a little light body work. I'll go in with some Evercoat filler and actually fill that up with Evercoat. Just make a small pass here and just take in some of these divots. This thing, like I said, this was pretty badly abused, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this. I have to keep in mind that this car is going to be used as a vehicle for Logan's lawn company that he's got locally. So I mean, I don't want to do a ton of stuff in here, but I do want to make the engine bay look nicer so he can dress it up a little bit and go to the cruise-ins with the car after we get everything repainted and all that. And that's really not taking off enough metal to cause me any kind of concern for shock tower deformation or anything like that. So there, that's ready to go into the mix again. I'm going to now back out of here and kind of let Logan take over when he gets back from school today on cleaning up the rest of this shock tower and then getting the rest of the engine bay done. This is all I'm going to do on this. I want to do a really quick little video to show you guys exactly what you're going to be getting into. Doing a mechanical. Mechanical is hard. Last word, it's just harder to do than chemical stripping. You will do mechanical even with chemical stripping, and you'll do some chemical stripping even with mechanical. You'll want to do the frame rails with a chemical strip because you don't want to take the galvanizing off the outside of the frame rails. And then you'll want to do a mechanical strip, as I've said before, out around the outside perimeters on these areas of the shock tower so you don't get that up inside of there. That's the end of it. All right, so do me a favor. Go check out the Patreon account. At the $10 a month level, you get monthly meetings with me on Zoom. And I'll tell it to you this way, like I say every week, if we've ever done anything to help you out, no, let's just say on a consistent basis, we're helping you out every week and we're saving you money. You might want to think about throwing some money into the Patreon account to help me offset the cost of the now dual parenting Darren and Andrew combo for edit and AD work, because Andrew's taking a job somewhere else because we just haven't been able to get that Patreon level up enough for him to do this as a full-time job. So Darren is stepping in to help him while he goes over and works at Bridgestone. I'm wondering if we get some free tires that way, but I don't know. I doubt it. But you never know. We might get some free tires. And you know what I'm about to talk about? It's super thanks. One-time thank you from you guys. Do whatever you want. 2 cents, $1, $1.5 million. I'll take the $1.5 million because I'm just that kind of guy. I'm benevolent. I will continue to work till we use up the $1.5 million, then I'll retire. Just letting you know. I mean, I'm not just gonna leave. I'll continue to work on that $1.5 million. So if you're out there and you got $1.5 million, you're gonna drop it in our laps or whatever, we'll love it. So I'll tell you what, folks, do me a favor. Be kind to each other, love on each other, treat each other nice. You guys have a great week and we'll see you on down the road. So now, theoretically, Logan is gonna come in here and he's just gonna pop all this out and it'll be done. We'll be completely finished. There'll be nothing left to do here. I'm not believing it. I mean, I am, but I'm not. Because if his girlfriend comes over, right out the window. But for me, it's lunchtime, so I'm gonna get out of here and go grab some lunch. The most indignified thing you can do is climbing out of an interior engine bay of a car when you're 60 years old. Or nearly 60 years old. Because I won't be 60 until June, but I still feel 60.